does. We promote the city and market the city as a leisure and business destination.
And I'd like to say what is old is new again.
Absolutely.
Because years ago, when in Hemming Park, which was believed and used as the heart of our city, and still many times today is too, I'm proud to say, we had a small structure in the, let's see, that would be in the southwest corner of the park that was known as the Visitors Bureau. So that wonderful name has come back again in the form of Visit Jacksonville.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about your role there and what you do to promote tourism, and in particular heritage tourism for this area.
Well, I handle public relations at Visit Jacksonville, so therefore I go out and talk about how wonderful Jacksonville is for a business and leisure destination, to travel journalists, to meetings and conventions, media, anybody who will listen, basically. And I talk about how we have this great area with wonderful natural beauty, great history, obviously, wonderful beaches, lively arts and culture scene. And there's a lot that we have to offer, and sporting events, festivals. And so we really feel like we are a destination that is diverse, or for the diverse traveler. Someone who isn't really only wanting to go to the beach, maybe wanting to go to the beach one day, maybe wanting to see a show another day, maybe wanting to tour a museum another day. And so we really do have a lot to offer, and that's how we're marketing ourselves. We're Florida Begins, but we have wonderful, diverse selection of activities for any traveler.
I must say I'm very proud of Visit Jacksonville, because when a tourist requests information about an activity that's history related, you don't send them out of our town. And Jacksonville Historical Society wouldn't send them out of our town either. And there's certainly nothing wrong with visiting the oldest city, St. Augustine, or Fernandina. They're both splendid destinations, but Jacksonville has so much history. And let's talk about some of that heritage tourism and what it means to have the tourists come here and see those sites. And let's talk about some of those places.
Well, heritage tourism is actually very popular for vacationers. Our state tourism office, Visit Florida, did a study, a 2006 visitor profile study, that said that that visiting a historic or doing a historic activity, visiting a historic site, ranked 4th on their list, behind shopping and behind visiting a museum or an amusement park, which obviously is your Orlando's and area like that. But number 4 was visiting a historic site, and Northeast Florida has a lot of that to offer, and especially right here in Jacksonville. I mean, as the largest city, you can go, it's not all in one area. It's really
spread out place here.
It's very
It
spread
is.
out, and so it doesn't matter where you're staying. You will be walking on hallowed ground, basically, and getting to see some wonderful history that we have to offer. In the northern part, we've obviously got areas in Timaquan Preserve, like Kingsley Plantation, the oldest plantation house in Florida, and seeing the plantation house and also the slave quarters and things like that. But we've also got Fort Caroline, which, as I learned from you yesterday, is the first attempt of a colony between men and women searching religious freedom in the United States, and that's very important to us. You know, we really do promote ourselves as a birthplace for the United States, and so that's up in the northern part, and then obviously our downtown is extremely rich with history. Another side of tourism that a lot of people don't think about are your meeting and convention attendees that come to Jacksonville, and our very own convention center, the Prime Osborne, started out over 100 years ago as a railroad station. It's on the historic registry, and we really are proud of what we have there and what we can show off, and the wonderful history behind the Prime Osborne, and people really do like seeing that when they are there. But we've got a lot of really great things, wonderful historic museums, like the Beaches Museum and Historical Center out at the beach, which we also have as a visitor center. We also have the Maritime Museum in downtown with a lot of great artifacts about the maritime history. I mean, we have so much water here in Jacksonville, whether it's the river or the intercoastal or the ocean. Maritime really is a big part of our history here. And then down in Mandarin, we have the Mandarin Museum, where Harriet Beecher Stowe spent a lot of time wintering there. And so,
not at the museum, but in Mandarin.
Not at the museum, museum, but in that
The
area.
museum is kind of newer, but that's right.
People can go there and they can learn about the history of Jacksonville and specifically Mandarin with the old farmhouse and the old store.
It's a wonderful
and
park.
seeing the wonderful historical sites there at Walter Jones Park.
11 acres that they can wander on, and plus the historic structures, plus a museum on the site. And in fact, I'm going to ask you, because I have just a few, of course I would have pictures that are older, that's what I do, a few photographs of some historic structures downtown where I know when people contact Visit Jacksonville, sometimes they contact them about these places, or this is where you suggest they might want to spend some time. And this, of course, is our beloved Florida Theater.
Right. And the Florida Theater has wonderful history. It's actually one of the last remaining Picture Palace era theaters. It's the site of the first indoor concert performed by Elvis Presley, and obviously we had a judge in the front row to make sure that that he wasn't acting too inappropriate. But it's got a great history, and they really do play on that history. They show classic movies every summer.
Yes, I knew that Judge Gooding. We were talking about the fact I'm a native and you've been here, and you have a remarkable sense of our town because you've been here a year, but you've been in your young life always involved in the tourism industry.
Right,
So,
and Jacksonville's history is so rich, and we recently redid our website. It's www.visitjacksonville.com, and we really wanted to make it very easy for visitors to use, to find out what we have to offer. And we did a lot of research to find out some of the history behind some of our sites, really to bring those visitors in and make them feel a sense of the history, because historic-based travel and heritage travel is really important to visitors nowadays.
I'd like to show another downtown building. A lot of people think they're going to one of the most modern places in town, and in one sense they are, but in another sense, one of the most important historic buildings in our town. And of course, this is our art museum downtown, better known as
MoCA Jacksonville Museum of Contemporary Art. It's the largest contemporary arts museum in the Southeast. We're very proud of it, but the architecture in downtown Jacksonville is just amazing. I mean, after the fire, really building it back and showing this wonderful architecture from the early 1900s is, and bringing that in with modern day attractions as well.
And I'm going to make a little personal note there. What we were looking at, of course, is the old Western Union building, built in 1933. And let's see, it's been an art museum. I'm going to take a rough guess at about, did they just have a birthday celebration down at
They
MoCA?
did. They did have a celebration, an anniversary.
We're both blanking what year. I'm getting too old, so I can say that. And but my mother used to roller skate telegrams in the Western Union building.
Oh, wow.
Back in its early history and her early history, just out of her teenage years. So that was an early job for her here in Jacksonville, Florida. I'd like to show another site. This is located on what I like to call, you probably call, the Visit Jacksonville probably calls it downtown Jacksonville, but this is a historic photo. Unfair to you, Lindsay, but you know exactly what this is. This is the Jacksonville Historical Society's Merrill House. There's an early shot on top that shows the old homestead as we've restored it, without quite as much shrubbery around it. And the lower shot is sort of the condition, actually a better condition than in what we took the house and began our task of restoration. And that today is a house museum in virtually downtown Jacksonville. And it's really an unusual house museum. It's Victorian, it's turn of the century, and there aren't a lot of turn of the century house museums, so this makes this one wonderfully unique. I'd like to show a more modern day shot, and I know you'd like to speak probably on some of the other features in this photo, because it shows a little more. You see the wonderful old St. Andrews that dates to 1888. Now that's a National Register building, and we have like somewhere between about 80 and 100 National Register buildings in Jacksonville. I meant to get the count for you today. You may know better than I. Do you know?
I don't know, but I know there's a lot.
It's in that range. And the reason why I can't be exact is last time I counted it was in the 80s, but we continue to add. And then you see in the background, I love this because you see the old Coliseum in the background. And of course now we have the brand new arena right across the street from the front doors. And there's a lot historic in these areas where you send visitors, like the Wall. You want to talk about the Wall a little bit, or any of the other?
Well, we actually, we put out a visitors magazine to sort of inform our visitors of what there is to do when they're here. They may be here for a football game, but there's a lot of things they can do when they're not at that football game, or they may be here for a business trip and they're looking for some things to do. So I actually brought our visitor magazine.
Let me see if I can hold it up for the camera to catch that.
This is a biannual publication, and this particular magazine that we have has a whole article on Jacksonville's rich history and the monuments that sort of set as a marker our history. There's some information about the Confederate statue in Hemming Plaza, which you know, as we have said, is the tallest and oldest marker in Jacksonville. And also there's the Great Fire Memorial over by our largest hotel here in Duval County, the Hyatt Regency Riverfront. So, you know, there's a lot of great monuments as well. And Visit Florida, the same organization that did the study I'd mentioned earlier, they had said that half of the people that they have polled who come to the state want to see historical sites, historical markers, historical museums, Indian sites, basically a lot of the things that we have here, cemeteries and other areas that we've got right here in Jacksonville that show the rich history that we have here. And so that's very good for us because we do have a lot to offer heritage-based. Maybe some of the other cities might not, but we've got that, and that's what people are really looking for.
And since I just mentioned the word the Wall, and I think I should be more specific, the Veterans Memorial Wall, and which is unique and one of a kind here in the city, listing all the veterans from the Jacksonville area who lost a life, and I hope I qualify this correctly, serving their country, serving their nation in one of the services of our nation. Lindsay, I want to thank you for being here. I want to tell you, you were a woman after my heart because anyone who loves Jacksonville, Florida history, I really love them and what they do. I want to thank you for promoting our city's rich history. I want to thank you for being here. And I want everyone to stay tuned because next, Jerry Spinks, the president of the Jacksonville Historical Society, will be with you. And he'll be interviewing Hazel Mack. And Hazel Mack is the archivist historian for the Jewish Temple. So stay with us.